Hello and good day. My name is Paul Flint. I'm a lead business consultant at Minneapolis. If you're a project manager, business, or technical consultant and want to get some fast tips on how you can integrate AI tools into your day, this training's for you. Copilot, Scarlett, ChatGTP all provide similar functionality and are usernames interchangeably. Copilot shows up most in this training. It's not that I endorse it, I'm just lazy, and it was sitting on my desktop, and it works for me 80% of the time. Scarlett, which was developed by Proficient, can often provide improved results when it comes to Proficient-specific or consulting-related requests. Keep that in mind if you're going to be trying to figure out which tool to use. So let's step back for a second. Most of the examples shown here use Copilot, but you have many other AI tool options, as I mentioned, a full list of which can be reviewed on Connect. With any of these tools, you need to be aware that data security restrictions may be in place, and so definitely perform your due diligence before using an AI tool, especially if the client data will be processed or used. So, why should we use an AI tool such as Copilot? Copilot can provide PMs and consultants with assistance on tasks such as writing formulas or macros in Excel to analyze large amounts of data, summarizing meeting notes or stakeholder communications, quick generation of status updates, task lists, and documentation, freeing up your time for more strategic planning activities. Eliminating writer's block by authoring an agenda or a list of epics or user stories from other documents. Sounds kind of awesome, right? Keep in mind these tools are not without their shortcomings. Using AI tools is like having a college-age intern at your side. Sure, they're bright, but they don't know your business. To get the best results from them, you need to be very prescriptive about what you want them to do. Then, when they provide results, you need to review what their work, probably making additional changes or even augmenting what they provided. As mentioned, most of the training found here uses Copilot, and Copilot can be accessed at least 2 different ways. There's an app for it. You'll probably find it on the Windows taskbar or the Start menu, or on the cloud, copilot.microsoft.com, which is an OS agnostic way of getting to Copilot. As of 2025, this may be the only method for those that are on Mac or using Linux. Once you open up the tool on the screen, you'll enter a prompt. For example, it could be create a meeting agenda using the attached meeting notes, and then add that attachment and click submit. Copilot and others can provide different types of responses. In Copilot, you'll see quick response. Below that is deeper response. I typically default to the quick response if I have a simple request. But if I have a more complicated one, I will then use the think deeper one. You can do this a couple different ways. You can default with the quick, get an answer that you really don't like, then resubmit it using the think deeper. All right, you've heard me ramble enough. Let's kick it off with something simple like getting assistance using Excel formulas and data, and then move on to PM-specific tasks, consulting tasks, and then wrap it up with a few fun examples. Thanks so much for joining.
Ever have a CubeMate who was a wizard at a tool such as Excel who could effortlessly ask for assistance, say to build macros or write Excel formulas? Copilot is a well-behaved CubeMate who's only there when you need him. Copilot and Excel can help you with a wide range of complex and advanced functions, such as automating tasks or gain insight into client data. In this example, we'll ask Copilot to build us a simple formula for determining the monthly payments on a 30-year mortgage with a 5% interest rate. We'll drop our statement into Copilot, and it'll return with the formula. We can drop this formula into Excel, and we can use the hard-coded values, or of course we can point to it if there are other cells that already have the values in them.
Another Excel example is using Copilot to clean up data. Face it, one of the best practices to clean your data, including the removal of duplicates before you dive deeper, such as when doing data analysis and lookup or statistical and financial functions. In this example, I'll ask Copilot to help on the steps I need to take, and then I'll show you how to perform that using some dummy data. So right now, let's add in my query into Copilot. In this case, I'm just going to drop in, how can I remove duplicates in Excel?
You can remove duplicates a couple different ways, one of which is using the Remove Duplicates tool, which I'm going to show you here. Let me jump over to my dummy data, and I've got a list of purchase amounts from a number of different individuals. There are 111 or 110 lines of data here, and I know that there are 10 duplicates. I'm going to follow the steps that were in there, which was going to be highlighting all of my data columns. And then I'm going to go into my home, and then I'm going to click on Remove Duplicates. And I'm not going to select the ID because those are unique. In this case, I know I've got a number of purchase amounts. In this case, the duplicates will have the same name, the same email, and the same purchase amount. I'm going to click on OK. In this case, Excel came back. It said the steps that I followed from Copilot to remove the duplicates were successful. And we removed 10, and now we went from 110 to 100 line items. Thank you. This time, let's use Copilot to build a proposed agenda for an upcoming meeting. This will be a follow-up meeting, so we'll leverage the meeting minutes from the prior meeting as our foundation for the proposed agenda. So first thing, let's be very prescriptive in what we want from Copilot. Create a meeting agenda using the attached minutes from the last meeting. And now I'm going to add those meeting minutes. And I got these online. They just happen to be the meeting minutes from St. Paul City Council, which is not client data. And here we go. So we have an agenda over here, proposed agenda, this is a follow-up from last meeting, review the adoption of the meeting agenda. And then we've got other items. All of these were to-dos from the last meeting, and now they're showing up as agenda items for this proposed meeting. And if you'd like this, we want to export it, you can click on copy and then drop it into Word or any other application. Do one more fun one before we start going into project manager type solutions. What if you have screen caps of slides from a client and need to have them in text format? Copilot has optical character recognition capabilities and can convert a JPEG to a text file. In this case, I'm going to ask Copilot to convert the attached file to text, and then I'm going to bring that text file over. In this case, it's in JPEG format, and I would upload it. It's going to churn for a couple seconds, and it's going to give me my results. Here's a text extract from the image you uploaded. Now, I've done this before, and I've validated that Copilot pretty much did the entire document without any errors. That's not to say you're not going to find errors. I always recommend you take a look at any of these conversions to make sure that they're accurate. Oftentimes, one word may look like one thing, but then be displayed differently. Having a solid and accurate RACI chart or responsibility assignment matrix is often the first deliverable at PM Builds. In this example, we'll ask Copilot to leverage the SOW to build out the draft RACI. Oh, and if you also write SOWs, this is a sample SOW that I created that I'm going to use for the input. I just told Copilot some of the specifications of the project, and I said, build me out a statement of work, and it did that. For those that are close to SOWs, you're probably looking at this going, this is not really strong, but you know what? This is meant to be a foundation. So let me close this up. We go back to Copilot. So I'm going to ask it, create a RACI from the attached statement of work. And let me drop that statement of work that you just saw. Let's get it working. In this case, it gave me one. Now, you may want to enter specific roles. So maybe you've got a delivery manager. You could add that. You could say, create a RACI from the attached statement of work. Be sure to include the following roles as well. Let's build out the list of roles and responsibilities. We're going to need input files, and we can use either the SOW or the RACI to create the roles and responsibilities. Let's use that SOW. So here, for my prompt, create a list of roles and responsibilities from the statement of work. And if I attach the file, and now let's ask it to get to work. Here's a structured list of responsibilities based upon the attached statement of work. We've got a project manager with 4 bullet points, AI engineer, web developer. And again, this is our foundation. I'm sure for any project you may want to build this out, but again, this is a starting place, and it's always good to, at least for me, not deal with a blank sheet of paper and have something I can build off of. Ready to build a requirements document? Big no, you say? Yeah, I don't blame you. Starting with a blank page or a blank screen can be daunting. In this case, we're going to use Copilot to get us started by leveraging existing documents. We can use notes, or in this specific example, I'm going to use a project proposal document, which I'm showing on the screen. Now, this is a more sophisticated example, so I'm changing the rules slightly. So I'm still going to use my request, use this document to create requirements, organize it into functional, non-functional, and technical requirements, and then I uploaded the document. There was a setting here that you can pick quick response or deep thinking, or think deeper. I was getting inconsistent responses when I used just the quick one. The think deeper gave me the answer that I was looking for, or the results that I'm looking for. In this case, below is a structured breakdown of the requirements for your document, organized into functional, non-functional, and technical requirements. And here they are, functional requirements. They define what the system must do to support the project's objectives, weekly blog posts, monthly emails, social media updates, all from that kickoff document that I showed you before, or the proposal. And then it does show you some other sections, our non-functional requirements. And there's also our technical requirements. And of course, we can take all of this in the bottom, we can copy it and then drop it into whatever other tool we're using, such as Word, or if we're going to drop it into Jira. Having a requirements document is helpful, but what if you need user stories? Well, we can take this one step further. At the end of this, instead of copying this into a document, we could just prompt it, create user stories from the above. Below are the series of user stories derived from the structured requirements. Each story is expressed as a as role, I want to, so that format. So we have our epic, content creation and delivery, and we have our stories. Our next one's going to be collaboration analytics and SEO, user experience and security, financial and performance tracking, and that wraps up our user stories. And of course, now you can plug these individually into Jira or DevOps or whatever tool that you were using. And at that point, you now have a baseline for your backlog. Most, if not all of us, have been in the position where we need a demo narrative for a product. It's not uncommon to do a copy-paste out of the requirements and call it art, but that's not the ideal approach. In this case, we're going to use user stories as our input and have Copilot write the narrative part. So this is just a clipping of a simple list of user stories. It could be in plain text, or if you got it in file, that's great. We'll take that and we'll put it into Copilot. In this case, I uploaded it and I made the request. Create a demo narrative from this list of user stories. And then my response back, and I use the think deeper option. Below is a demo narrative that weaves together the user stories into a cohesive customer journey. Meet Jordan, a modern shopper. And then, it provides the narrative for you using those user stories, each one being included in this narrative. Definitely a much better way of building out your narrative. And I wish I had this years ago. Now that we have user stories, we can further leverage them for other purposes. In this example, the user stories are input to create release notes. We have a total of 8 user stories, and for simplicity, I'm just going to display them in text format, but of course you can upload files. My prompt is generate release notes from this list of user stories. And this is a commerce tool. I want to browse products by category, search by products, view details, add items to a shopping cart, check out, create an account, receive email notifications, and leave reviews. I also chose Think Deeper because I think this is one where it's going to benefit using that selection. And here's my response. This is my release notes. It gave it a snazzy title. And then here are all the improvements.
using those user stories. Category-based browsing customers can now browse products by category, making it easy to navigate and find exactly what they're looking for. This is the type of format that in the readability that your users are going to want to see. It's definitely for them more friendly than just copying, pasting user stories. And ideally, I think this is what you'd want to use in most cases for release notes. In this scenario, let's assume that I am a Scrum Master coming onto a team and I want to review the already estimated list of user stories before moving them over to a sprint. I need to ensure the description is clear and the estimates are accurate. For this, my list of user stories are organized by epoch and include, of course, the description as well as the estimates for each. And this is what I'm showing on the screen. This is my sample data. Let's drop that off. Let's show what it looks like in Copilot. I've already uploaded it. My request is evaluate these user stories for the upcoming sprint planning and story pointing. I went with the Think Deeper option, and this is a display of the results. In this case, I got an overall quality structure, or at least an overall assessment of what I've done. And then I start going to each one of the user stories and getting feedback based upon the points that were assigned. It could be subjective in some ways, but it does provide you the ability to see, are the points more or less accurate of and indicative of the work that's going to be performed. If not, you can always go back to the team, ask them to vet it, and maybe make changes. This is another way you can use Copilot. And in this case, you've been given the responsibility to onboard a project manager. And maybe you are not the type of person who normally has a structure for doing so, or maybe your project management skills are waning and you would like to be able to have some more specific direction. In this case, the team is being expanded to include a consultant who have entry-level PM responsibilities, but little PM experience. We're going to ask Copilot to provide a comprehensive training program for that junior project manager. So this is the expected results that we're looking for. The specific query that I put into Copilot was create a comprehensive training guide for a junior project manager starting their first project. And it kicked it off with, here's your training guide tailored for that junior project manager. It's designed to provide a strong foundation while offering practical steps, clear objectives, and actionable advice. And I'm not going to read this off to you, but I think the summary of this is that, yes, we can work with this in sections, maybe one a day with the new employee, or this is something you can hand over. It's up to you. One suggestion that I can make is try this on Scarlett. Scarlett has some proficient specific PM training, and she will use that in the response that you get, which I think is more helpful than using Copilot or any other AI tool. The one that our company put together does use our company existing documentation, so that could provide a more refined way of providing this format, or at least the training material for the project manager. The next two tips won't help you directly with a project plan or a program backlog, but it may help you build client relationships. For this first one, maybe you have a budget and need to take a client out, but you're unsure where to go. Or maybe you have a specific food request. In this case, I plugged into Copilot, suggest a restaurant in downtown Minneapolis that I could take a client to that's not too expensive. And it provided me some good results. These are probably no different than what you're going to see in Google, but I do like the interface in that it does, allows you to ask a question as if you're asking a person standing next to you, and it gives you responses that are concise and specific. In this case, they were accurate to the location that I input, in this case, downtown Minneapolis, and then also provided some insight into the dollar values. All right. Continuing with the theme of building better client relationships, let's say you want to do a little research before talking to a client. Maybe they have a hobby that you'd like to know more about. And in this example, maybe they're an avid reader and you know that specifically they're a huge Chuck Palahniuk fan. You read Fight Club 10 years ago, you can't remember all the details. Let's drop in, summarize the novel Fight Club. In this case, you have all the cliff notes that you need to talk legitimately about the book as if you read it yesterday. How to pronounce Chuck Palahniuk? Ahniuk. Palahniuk. Chuck Palahniuk. Wow, I've been doing it wrong for 20 years.